Maserati, it's Rari, I'm going out space. I remember days, going on missions, hopping in fences, running from Jake. I got bulletproofs on all the Cadillacs and niggas slide through like I'm Obama. Going to St. Laurent store, Louis Vuitton, Don, I'ma fuck up some plumber. I was in the back eating jambalaya, how about the P, they straight in my pajamas. Hey, we got it poppin', I'm straight out the city, my nigga, but they never knew. When I was on the county line, I ain't suit up yellow, I was in the blues. What your pots make for half the year, I spend that shit on my shoes. Hey, I go from country to country and city to city.
Whoa, whoa, yeah. Sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now, baby. I took a half and she took the whole thing. Slow down, baby. We took a trip, now we on your block and it's like a ghost town, baby. Where did these be at when they say they doing all this and all that? Tired of beefing you bums, you can't even pay me enough to react. Been waking up in the crib and sometimes I don't even know where I'm at. Please don't pay that songs in this party, I can't even listen to that.
Alrighty, how's everyone doing today? We're gonna start in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to do a little tribute to Sam Jones. If you guys don't know, Sam Jones just recently passed away, so I just kind of want to play a little bit of highlights of his gameplay to show you like what kind of a baller he was back in the day, man. Like, I know you could say that he wouldn't make it in today's NBA, man, but he's kind of one of the catalysts that led to the way the NBA's play and the way that he, you know, how this Boston Celtics team honestly revolutionized the game of basketball back then to where it is now. I mean, you got to look at your history, you got to learn it. Not saying you got to like say like, oh, the old way is the best way, but to look at the stuff that they were doing back then and seeing how some of the influences there for today's game. So we're gonna play a little bit of this. Shout out to Dime Dropper Podcast for dropping this highlight reel of Sam Jones. But I just want to play this for Sam Jones because he just passed away yesterday. So passed away last night. So I just wanted to play this for him. I think he was 88 years old. So I kind of wanted to show a little bit of highlights of him. Apparently master of the bank shot is what he was.
I know that they at the crib going crazy down bad. What they had didn't last, damn baby. Sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now, baby. I took a half and she took the whole thing. Slow down, baby. We took a trip, now we on your block and it's like a ghost town.
Good right hand finish.
Baby, where did these be at when they say they doing all this and all that?
Obviously a different style, different gameplay, but man, he was a baller. And Tyrese is going to join me tonight for a little bit. We're just going to kind of go over some stuff, some news and rumors. But again, I do want to play a little bit of this before we head out of here. Probably going to play another minute or two, and then I'm going to get Tyrese on here. Probably talk some latest NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions. And then we'll probably call it a night, and hopefully you guys will enjoy your New Year's Eve, and you know, make sure you do it safe.
Sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now, baby. I took a half and she took the whole thing. Slow down, baby. We took a trip, now we on your block and it's like a ghost town, baby. Where did you be at when they say they doing all this and all that?
What's a little bit of the clutch shots. Man, look how crazy the clocks were back then. It's such a different era, man. You can see how different of an era it was with the way that he's just dribbling with his right hand. Again, we're just going to watch a little bit. Probably watch one more clutch highlight of his to kind of have a proper send-off. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, Sam Jones recently just passed away. And I just kind of wanted to do a little bit of a highlight reel to kind of show you what kind of player he was. Again, I know this is a different era. I know what people are going to say about it, but I just kind of wanted to show it and show you what kind of player he was to a lot of people in this era. Again, this is against the Lakers, arch nemesis of the Celtics.
Suicide door, brand new bag. College girls came in my raps. Rockstar life, so much money, I'll make you laugh. Hey, they hate and you can't miss what you never had. Hey, off the juice, got me tripping. Cut the coupe, walker roof is missing. Ice, lemonade, my neck was
huge. Absolutely huge shot right there.
Boys got some 60s in my bag. Lips sealed, ain't pillow talking on no rag. In my earlobe, got 2 carats, VVS. Got a penthouse near Rodeo, off of stress.
Again,
All this money
awesome highlight by Dime Dropper Podcast, man. I want to shout you out especially for making that because, again, people need to know about Sam Jones, man. Like, he was a great player. Again, like I said, this isn't, you know, I'm not trying to compare eras, but, you know, he's still a great player. But with that being said, sorry, Nav, but we are going to start today's podcast. So let me get Tyrese in really quick. We're going to start this podcast off. We're going to talk a lot about kind of what happened tonight for the Boston Celtics, or I guess this morning, because this is one of the earliest games, I think, on the NBA schedule for today, and that was, of course, their win against the Phoenix Suns. I do think that not having Ayton for the Phoenix Suns was a huge loss, but I still think we did a pretty damn good job of defeating them and winning. So with that being said, let me get Tyrese on here in just a second, but hopefully you guys are enjoying your New Year's Eve. You know, this is one of these times where people try to make resolutions or they reflect back on what it was, I should say, this past year. Obviously, there's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs for everybody from this pandemic, and it's, you know, tiring at times. You know, people are getting frustrated, people are getting tired, but I hope you guys kind of stick with it and stick with whatever your plan is, man. So let me make a quick phone call, and I'll be right back. What's up, Tyrese? Hello? Hey, what's up, Tyrese? Good, how you doing, man? Yeah, just getting ready to stream because we're live right now, Tyrese. We're live on the stream. So you know, Tyrese, how are you doing, man? I know it's been a long year for everybody, but how have you been?
I've been really good, man. I'm looking forward to the next year. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. I've been all right. You know, it's been a long year. Pandemic has definitely taken a toll on me in many ways, not just, you know, physically, mentally. But, you know, I just think it's good to keep going and just kind of do the things that you love. And this is obviously one of them, talking to you, talking to my boy Pete when he's on here, and just talking NBA and talking basketball. That's probably one of my biggest loves, as you guys can tell by the way that I coach. I make a channel about it. So let's get started, Tyrese. So before we get started, just want to let everybody know to remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Remember, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more that this channel grows and develops into what I want it to be. Again, we are still not that far off, but we're trying to get to that magic 1,000 number. So I hope you guys can help us get to that magic 1,000 number by supporting the channel, by sharing it, and really letting people know that there's a channel out there that's really about growing an NBA community and really growing a basketball community, more so than an NBA basketball community. Whether you're a college hooper, whether you're an NBA hooper, whether you're, you know, in high school, and that's kind of the vibe or the lane that you want to stick in. But, you know, we're here to talk all NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions. So Tyrese, I think we should start off with, I would say, probably maybe not the biggest news, but one of the bigger news out there. And that is, of course, Rajon Rondo, former Celtic Rajon Rondo, officially becoming a Cleveland Cavalier after, I would say, not so great reunion with the Los Angeles Lakers. You know, I'm going to read the story, Tyrese, and then you can kind of chime in first. So the Cleveland Cavaliers have agreed to acquire Rajon Rondo from the Los Angeles Lakers for Denzel Valentine. The Lakers are giving Rondo an opportunity to play regular minutes and do also create a roster spot. With the Cavaliers losing Ricky Rubio, which is unfortunate, which is kind of the reason why we talked about it before on a previous stream, that they suddenly had need for a point guard with to play a bigger role. Rondo has been in COVID protocol since Sunday and will need to clear before joining the Cavaliers, who are 20-14 and surprisingly one of the top 2 seed, or I should say the top, I think they're top 6, the top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. Whether doesn't matter what conference it is, it's still impressive that they are in that predicament in the first place. Tyrese, I want you to kind of let me know, what do you make of this trade for the Lakers and for the Cavaliers? Is this the right move, or what do you think more so about it?
Well, personally, I just think it was try to create cap space. I mean, what was Rondo's salary anyway? What was he even getting? I wasn't he on a vet minimum, I think, for a couple million?
He was on a vet minimum, I believe. He's not on a lot of money.
Yeah. Maybe they're just trying to get more young legs. Someone who has not so much of a, I wouldn't say high ego, but strong personality. As in Rondo, I think it just doesn't mix well when you have Russell Westbrook. So going back to what I was saying before, they have a lot of strong voices. Which isn't a bad thing. It's just, you can't have LeBron, AD, Russ, and then Rondo. And then they're all kind of older up in age, Carmelo. So I think that was just them trying to get some new fresh legs. Maybe try to get some sparks off the bench or something with the, Malik Monk. And, I don't know. I honestly thought they could have probably gotten someone probably better, but I mean, maybe they see something. I don't know. Maybe LeBron has a relationship, or some guy like, I don't know, Malik Monk has a relationship with Denzel Valentine, for all we know, right? I mean, he's a younger guy. They have a lot. They have Kendrick Nunn there, who's a little younger. He's 28, 29, 28. So maybe they just want some guy who's a little younger, who can kind of relate to the young guys on the team. Because it seems like with the Lakers, it's kind of just like LeBron, Carmelo, Westbrook. AD a little bit, but AD's kind of getting up there in age. It's kind of like where they have their own little clique. I noticed that. So I think that was just them trying to get some new, fresh legs and, see, because I mean, he's still young. Denzel Valentine's only 26 or something like that. Yeah. So he still has a little bit of upside to him, but I don't think he really moves the needle. But I mean, a lot of things can be good in the locker room, not so much on the court. Maybe I don't know. So we'll see. But I don't think it moves the needle for them that much. I think they have to trade someone like a Russell Westbrook or Anthony Davis and get some young pieces there, fresh legs. But, that's the only thing I could really see them moving the needle, especially in the West, So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was more so a play, or this was more so a move just to create a roster spot. I think they talked about it here in the Adrian Wojnarowski tweet. I just think that this was just a way to kind of create and guarantee a roster space. I think Rondo at this current point hasn't really added much value to the LA Lakers the way that they thought he would. He was a huge impact player on that 2019 team, or I can't remember what year that they won the championship, but 2 years ago when they won their championship, he was a huge impact player. Him and Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, all those guys were huge impact players. And for whatever reason this year, it just hasn't worked out for any of the Lakers so far. It's been a chaotic mess, and I think that it is one of those things that they were, hey, Justin, Happy New Year, man. Hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, just kind of going back to that point, I just don't think that Rondo really moved the needle for them. He was more so, I think he was going to be more of a hindrance than I think an asset at this point. Because I think Rondo obviously wants to continue playing. He thinks that he can add a lot of value, the way that he did back 2 years ago. And, I just think for whatever reason, it just hasn't panned out that way for Rondo. And I just think he just has to accept the reality of that. So I think that we'll see what happens with this Cavaliers team. I think it'll be interesting just due to the fact that I think Rubio added a lot more dynamic value with the way that he was a little bit of a better shooter. obviously a better defender and everything in between. So I'm curious to see, like, when you go from an organization like the Lakers who don't hold you accountable for those defensive lapses, like, will JB Bickerstaff, keep Rondo like with the same energy as the other young guys? With Rubio, he's a guy I feel like, because he is very European, I think that there's a little bit more of a structure to where like where like the coach can kind of like have a little bit more reign on him. Where I feel like now, with Rondo, Rondo's opinionated. Like you're either gonna get a Rondo that will listen, or you're gonna get a Rondo that's gonna be like, nah, forget it, I'm doing my own thing, or like I don't need to listen to the coach. But
too, I also took into account this. There is some stuff going around that they're trying to go after Ben Simmons, so maybe they're trying to get Rondo in there just to kind of mentor and have a vet point guard who's won before, who wasn't so much of a shooter, who can do things all different type of ways, such as passing, setting guys up. So that's the only thing I can think of, because the Rondo move just didn't make sense for Cleveland. The only thing I can think of Cleveland is they're going after Ben Simmons, and they need a veteran point guard in there who can really, keep his shoulder. It's crazy to say, but I mean, Ben's been in the league for a few years now, but he still hasn't gotten there mentally. So I think Rajon Rondo will kind of be that Udonis Haslem type role for Cleveland. I mean, they're a talented team, man. I mean, look what they've been doing. I mean, and they haven't been healthy with COVID and everything. So I think, if it wasn't for COVID and they have the pieces they have now, and Jared Allen was healthy and everybody was good to go, I think they can seriously make a run to the finals, I think, in the West. I mean, in the East. They have talent from top to bottom. Yeah, they have ball movement. They have a bench. They have everything. Young guys who can get up and run the floor. And Evan Mobley. They kind of reminded me of a young Spurs team who have a lot of young guys who, I'm very high. Like, if Cleveland can really just play their roles right and maybe try to get – see, the thing with Ben Simmons is you're going to have to give up a lot of those quality guys. Maybe if you could trade Ricky, but, I mean, he has an ACL injury, so he's kind of like damaged goods. But if he wasn't, then if they could have traded Ricky for Ben, like, that would have been solid, because Ben's younger. He has a way more better upside, better defender, and bigger. I think Cleveland – I think if they can get one more guy such as Ben Simmons and maybe like a Bradley Beal or something like that as a free agent to go there with all the pieces they have on young contracts, they can get to the finals. I think they can be one of those teams to where it's like, damn, like, but you wouldn't be shocked. They have a lot of talent, man, and they're well coached. They just had a lot of bug injuries, a lot of COVID, like any other team, but I mean, they lost a lot of close games too. Yeah. So I think, they have a really good infrastructure. What's his name? Kobe Altman. I mean, he's been doing a fantastic job on managing that whole thing. So, I mean, hey, sky's the limit for Cleveland, man. They're looking scary. I'll say that. They're looking better than we are. So, that's what I think for the Rondo move as far as Cleveland trying to attract, receive him on the deal.
Yeah, I feel that. Justin, I just kind of want to read what you said really quick. Shout out to Tyrese, man. In the offseason, you were one of the very few feeling very bullish on the Bulls.
Yeah, man, I was very bullish on the Bulls, Justin. And as you see now, look what the Bulls are doing. Look what the Warriors are doing. Look what the Phoenix Suns are doing. I mean, all the teams I predicted are doing better than I predicted.
Yeah.
I was looked at crazy when I said, the Suns will be 1 or 2, and Golden State will be no more than 3 or 4. And look where they are, 1 and 2, higher than what I even predicted. The Bulls are damn near first in the East, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, for me, I just look at a team as the type of players they have and their type of game before I look at just, like the Lakers. They have, talented players, but I knew that wouldn't have worked. That's why I said I'm very bearish on the Lakers, and look what's going on. I said I was bearish on the Celtics. I mean, we had a lot of bug injuries, but come on, like, we're in the East.
Yeah.
Everything with us just screams rebuild mode. But yeah.
And then the other question that Justin had was Rondo a Hall of Famer to you guys? I mean, I think in the NBA he is, but if I was like to be kind of like I mean, not a perfectionist, but to me, I think Rondo was, obviously played a huge role for our Boston Celtics back in 2008 when we won the championship. He was a great point guard. He started emerging as his own guy, especially when he became one of the core guys for the Boston Celtics once Ray Allen moved. And I can see why I think a lot of people are very high on him, but I think, like, if I was to like be very strict on who I think would be in the Hall of Fame, I think he's one of those guys that I don't think that he's gonna make it. I know he has the championship pedigrees. I know he has like all the accolades for it, but I just don't see as someone that's a Hall of Famer in my opinion. I think he's a very good.
Really?
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good, man. Like, I don't think he's like a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like easy to say now because he's still playing, but 5 to 7 to 10 years from now, when he's out of the league and he's an analyst eventually on ESPN and every now and then, like, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He won a championship with the Celtics. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, right now it just doesn't seem like it, like Rondo, but like as 5 years go past and he's out of the league after 5 years from when we're speaking now, because he's going to retire soon. It might be this year or next, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer, right? Like if Vince Carter was a Hall of Famer, like I know for sure Rajon Rondo, a starting point guard for us for the Celtics, he's going to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like he's just one of those guys. Like I think even Vince Carter to me is like a guy that maybe should probably not have been in the Hall of Fame. Like it's one of those things I look at when I look at Rondo. Like I look at the stats, I look at the accolades. Like they're all like somewhat there, but offensively, I think is where Rondo to me has always been a guy that struggled. And I just don't see really Rondo being a guy that fits that Hall of Fame criteria for me. Like in my idea of a Hall of Fame criteria, I just don't see it. Like I think he obviously has 2 championships. I'm not going to take away like the accolades, but in terms of like the whole game with the individual awards, like I think to me, it's like he had a moment. And that was like, once like Ray Allen left and like he was the guy. So, he would get in those all NBA teams. But at the end of the day, I just think that he is a guy that's really good that probably shouldn't make the Hall of Fame, but is still still a really good player. Like I'm not trying to diminish his career or anything like that.
Oh yeah, of course.
He's still a very good player.
Yeah, he's still and it's not always about, he was a pretty good defender for, not a tall point guard too. I mean, 6'1", 6'9" wingspan. I mean, he can get some skills, but he was a good vocal guy, good locker room guy. I think if you add just all those things together and he won 2 championships with 2 of the best franchises in the league, I think it's a commitment he's going to get inducted in just because of the teams he played for. And, one he started with. So, I mean, that would be kind of crazy to not have Rondo at some point in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the way that...
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I think with the way that this league goes, he'll probably be in. 2-time NBA champion, 4-time NBA All-Star, an All-NBA third team, two-time All-NBA first team for defensive team, a second team, a 2-time All-NBA second team, led the league in assists 3 times in his career, NBA steals leader, all this other stuff, McDonald's All-American, like everything that you can imagine. So I think from like the stats and the accolade that I see here, like for the highlights, I think he probably will make it based on like the standards of the NBA Hall of Fame itself. But I would love to see a little bit more. Like, I think if he would have, just like I think if he would have averaged a little bit higher point, not saying they need to be like the best scorer on the team, but he was definitely a guy that I think if he was able to have like the jump shot that he does now, like back then, I think he would have been like so much better. And I think the Celtics honestly would have kept him for a little bit longer than they did.
Well, let me tell you this. Do you think Manu Ginobili deserves to be in the do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
To me, yeah, because I think like he did a lot for Argentina, man. Like he was a guy that like did a lot of stuff for like Argentina. I think that he's one of like the yeah. I mean, that's a tough one.
Because I mean, he didn't get too many more points than Rondo. What, 3.4 more points? A 3-pointer, 3 points more. I mean, that's not really a big difference. And he didn't get as much as assists, I think, as Rondo. So I think, those guys are two guys that I kind of put together as in the same kind of bracket. They weren't, crazy scores, but they can get you 15 to 20 on a given night when you need it. Good defense, can create fouls, smart players, hard-nosed defensive players. So I just think those are two players I think that are going to get in. And Manu reminds me of, Rondo, like as far as in the same type of bracket.
Yeah.
I mean, he's leading for the finalists for 2022. So, I think Rondo can get in.
He probably will get it.
He's more liked by the players too.
I would still have loved a little bit more offense from him, and I think like if he would have had the shooting ability that he does now back then, I think he would have been like for sure like lock in Hall of Famer, because I think he would have played a lot more. He would have played a lot more seasons.
He did make some clutch shots for the Lakers too, and the 2020 bubble. So they're going to look at all that stuff and put all that data together, and they're going to be, oh yeah, okay, he had a couple big threes when they needed it in a key moment, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, it's and like you say, today where the NBA is as far as putting players in, it's kind of easier. As long as you won a couple rings and you were kind of a key contributor and liked by players.
I think if you have one NBA champion, they look at you like at a different standard than guys that have not won a championship. And kind of
I mean, a lot of guys, like if we look at it now, how the trend is going, like Pascal Siakam's probably going to be a Hall of Famer when he retires, right? Fred VanVleet is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Like you said, like all you need is one ring, and those guys were key contributors. So, I mean, yeah, that's just the way the league's moving, like you say.
Yeah. But to kind of go back to the Rondo on the Cavaliers before we call his career an end, he's going to have to replace a lot of what Ricky Rubio gave to them. Ricky Rubio gave him 13 points a game, gave him, I believe, 6.6 assists a game, second on the team in assists, and the next closest, I think, is like 2-something. So, Rondo's got he's got big shoes to fill for a guy that was playing so well for the Cavaliers and the way that the style that they were playing. So, I'm really excited and also interested to see like what happens with this Cleveland Cavaliers team and the sort of momentum that they had going, for 2021. Their momentum doesn't carry over into 2022. And does it get them a guaranteed spot in the playoffs this coming year? Because like I said, I do like this team a whole lot. Darius Garland being the guy that's really taken over as the guy in Cleveland. Compared to guys like Cedi Osman or Colin Sexton or Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, I think, still needs a little bit more time to develop as like the offensive guy. But he's definitely playing a lot better than I think a lot of people would expect from him. And you also got Kevin Love, who's also, coming off the bench and giving you some quality contributive minutes, for a guy that
trade him though. I think they're going to trade Kevin Love, and they're going to trade Kevin Love, and they're probably going to trade Cedi Osman.
I mean, I feel like if they continue the way that they're going, there's no way that they trade him. Like I think that they're tired of trying to tank all the time, and they just want to like.
Well, I just look at it from this perspective, right? They have a really young, talented young core. Jared Allen's not that old. Garland is for sure not old. Evan Mobley is a rookie, and he's looking like Chris Bosh in the making. And then if you trade for those guys, you trade those guys for Ben Simmons, and Ben's only what 25, 26 years old. You have a really good core. So I think that makes sense than having a 33-year-old Kevin Love and C.D. Osman, he's good. He can have some flashes, but you can package him with Kevin Love and maybe a first for Ben, and it can get it done. The salaries would match and everything because Kevin Love's making some good money. So, yeah, I think they're going to trade those guys. I mean, it has to be, right? Because the only reason why I think they can win after Rondo too is because, insurance policy with COVID. And I think they plan on getting Ben. And I think they plan on having Rondo around for a mentorship for Ben. That's my understanding. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would love to kind of see like where this team goes. Like, does it stay the course? Does it make a trade? Because I think there's a lot of like avenues and maneuvers that they can go down, and I think that this is one of the more interesting spots because I think everybody, including you and I, have not had the Cleveland Cavaliers as one of our top teams in the NBA Eastern Conference. Like, I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card for 2021 going into 2022. But no. I am excited though to see where they go because again, this is a position that they haven't been in since probably LeBron James has, laced them up for the Cavaliers for this team. But everyone in the comment section, let us know what you guys think of the Cleveland Cavaliers and this trade that the Cavaliers and Lakers made. Does it make the Lakers weaker? Does it make the Lakers stronger? Does it make the Cavaliers weaker? Does it make them stronger? Let us know in the comment section down below. And also, thank you to Justin for giving us our question of the day for this video. Is Rajon Rondo a Hall of Famer? Let us know in the comment section down below. All right, Tyrese, I think we can kind of go into a little bit of what is going on in the NBA in terms of a return to basically back to the game because they're missing a lot of key players. I think the NBA has kind of realized that they are losing a lot of money with these guys not in uniform, and they've changed their COVID return. They sped it up. And again, the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association have agreed to a new health and safety protocol that would further shorten a timetable for asymptomatic and vaccinated players to play after a positive COVID-19 test. Previous such players could be cleared from the protocol after 7 days if test data shown that their cycle threshold were above a 35, but new protocols will also allow players to return after 5 days if their CT levels are above 30, the league sources say. The move should help replenish rosters that have been decimated by COVID-19 as the Omicron variant rages through the league. As of Friday morning, 260 total players have entered the protocol, and including 247 in December alone. Like, I think as soon as December hit, I think a lot of people were very worried and also were concerned with the way that this whole variant has gone. And now that, especially, a team like the Atlanta Hawks, they've been decimated with injuries. Like, I don't think I mean, Trae Young barely just returned a couple days ago, and they lost like Bogdanovich, they lost Kevin Huerter. Heck, they might even lose a lot more due to this. But what do you make of the new policy for the NBA? Are you happy with it? Is it concerning?
Well, I mean, that's not really their policy. That's more of the CDC policy. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're kind of like, yeah, I guess it is the new CDC policy, which is kind of not only gone to real life, but also where we're at right now with this NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of find it weird, man, because I feel like that's not enough time for players to kind of recoup and to see, how things are going. I just think it's going to lead to even more massive breakouts, to be honest. I mean, these players, they're around all different types of people, going to nightclubs, dinners. Some of these states that they're playing in don't require a mask still. So, honestly, I think it's bad. The cut down on the days that the CDC did. I think they should have kept it at 10 or even 14, especially during these times of travel and especially for players in the league. Yeah, man, I think what they should have done was, this is me personally. I think they should have just chose about maybe 6 cities to where these players are playing, and kind of like how the Disney bubble is, because it's just going to be a outright spike coming in the next few weeks, and I think it's just going to get them back to square one. And yeah, I think they should have had like 6 locations, man, because these cases are just going to start going rapid, you know. And I understand they're bleeding for money, you know, they need tickets to sell, but at the end of the day, it's health, right? Like, you can't have your $200 million guy out there on an inhaler like Jason Tatum is, and he has to use it every day, you know, every game, and he can't play the way he wants to play. I mean, at some point, it kind of has to be up to the players to say, hey, like, do you guys feel right with this 5-day isolation instead of, you know, the 10? Because that's just not enough days to me, man. Like, I think it's going to be an even worse breakout than what it was. I think players are going to start dropping like flies heading into January and into February. I ultimately think it's going to get so bad to where they're just going to have to play the playoffs and stuff how they did in the bubble. Because it's out of control. And then cutting the isolation down, that's just not enough time. Me personally, that's what I think. I think they're just going to wind up back in the bubble or a few locations, like I suggested, to where players can play safe. And,
yeah, I mean, I would say this is tricky, right? Because I think that we are still, we still kind of feel the lingering effects of like 2 years ago and what happened with that whole stuff. And I think that the variant has kind of, I wouldn't say it hasn't, like, it's gone to a more of like a flu cold from what I'm saying. And again, I am not a doctor. I'm not trying to claim to be one. And I know YouTube has very strict guidelines when it comes to this stuff. So talk to your doctor, find out what's right for you for this stuff, like, for COVID and all that stuff. So make sure that you do that. But I think the NBA, the player, I even think the players to some degree, Tyrese, I think players are a lot different than us. I think they want to play. Like, I think that they want to, they feel like they're fine. They feel like they're asymptomatic, and they feel like they don't need to wait this quarantine time. Like, I think that it's kind of like what happened, previously, when you had like the flu or the cold, like you would just stay home if you were sick. And I think that's what these players are kind of feeling right now, is that they don't feel like they're, concerned about dying from this disease, because they're not like most Americans. They're, probably the healthiest people out there. Sort of, trainers and all this other stuff. So I think that's where I think that's where the NBA is going to go, and that's where I think it should go, because I think that it's been, I do think that you should take precaution and just, obviously test, making sure that, if they are asymptomatic, that they are that they cannot pass on this new variant. And I think that that's where the NBA is at this current moment. I think the NFL, NHL, all these leagues are they're perplexed, because they understand like the severity of, the other variants, like, Delta and, the other variants that are much more deadly. I think Austin Reeves, one of the Lakers players, has been in COVID protocol for what seems like forever.
Yeah, right. Because, like, I mean, everybody's body is kind of different. All these players can't react to it and, jump back up, and go full strength. Like, some of these players probably even have asthma that they didn't even know they had asthma. And, it can do permanent damage to the lungs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and these players run up and down the court. So I just think too, it has to be to a point to where it's kind of, it's up to the player to make that decision. I don't think it should just be, 5 days and you're out. It's like, damn, like, what if my body doesn't react well to getting this infection? Like, yeah, I understand, like, they're saying it's a cold, but come on, let's just be real. They don't have enough data on it. Like, they don't have a good 5-year data on this variant. This variant barely popped up, 2 months ago? So with the travel and everything going on, and, New Year's, we'll see how it is in January, and If it gets out of control how it did in March and April, I think it's time to, select locations for these players to keep them safe.
Yeah. But I guess what's the, I would say, to play devil's advocate, like what would be the threshold? Like them getting COVID, but them having, cold and flu-like symptoms and, being fine? Or is it like what we saw, previously? Because I think that's the thing with this new variant is that I don't think it's as, I would say, it's more contagious, but it's not as lethal as the previous variants.
Bernie, if you think about it, they're postponing games right now. They weren't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's from like the guidelines that we have currently. This isn't from like the new guidelines, and I think some players are asymptomatic compared relatively to like everyday Americans who, to be honest, I don't think we have the best diet in the world. So I think that the comorbidities and all that stuff does play a factor. But again, you're right. You are right, though. I mean, a lot more people are catching it, and I think that a lot more people are going to get it.
Yeah, I just think too from a team standpoint, because you don't want a whole fan base getting it in your arena, right? Because they have to come in there every other night if it's a back-to-back game, and you see how the Warriors and Denver game was. It was postponed because the Nuggets didn't have the players, and it can just be a whole outbreak in a stadium. So I think they need to have stricter guidelines, because it'll mess up their money again if they don't, because they make money off the fans realistically. I mean, they get the TV deal money, but a lot of their revenues come from sales stand, food stand, jerseys, stuff like that. So
yeah, but we talked about it before. We've talked about it, like how they were bleeding for money when it was just a TV deal and no fans were in the stadium. So they definitely need to keep that alive, and I just think they will be a lot stricter. They should be a lot stricter when it comes to that stuff.
Especially during these times.
Yeah, and I think it's different. When it comes to like the December, January, because that's when usually people get sick. Like a lot of schools.
February.
Yeah. A lot of schools get like a lot of kids absent because there's a lot more sickness going on because, it just happens during this time. Like that, I think that's what we're going to get into probably in this near future, when people return from this winter break, going back into, the schools, is that there's going to be a lot of kids out or, test positive just due to the fact that it's a lot more contagious. I have to go back
to university in January, and they're requiring third dose boosters and stuff like that. But come on, you're talking about 25,000 students on campus. It's going to be cases, who knows? Everybody's body's different. They can be out 2 weeks, right? And not be able to complete assignments, is out cold. Yeah. That's a scary thing, but that's the world we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is just kind of like a short topic. So let us know in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree with what the NBA and these other professional sports leagues are doing by shortening the quarantine time, or are you guys more caution on the safe side and making sure that we get those appropriate days back? Let me know in the comment section down below of this video. I think what we can move on to, Tyrese, is probably, I would say, like a little bit of a friendly competition, and that is, of course, between Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid. These two were jawing at each other. It seems like they've been doing this for the past, like, God knows how long they've been doing it. But these two have seemed to like really like have I would say a love beef for each other. Like they always like to kind of fight with each other. They're very argumentative. So I'll play the video. I'm not sure if it's going to play the right parts. We're going to see a little bit maybe. We're going to see kind of Joel Embiid here just wave away Kevin Durant. I believe Kevin Durant gave him a thumbs up at the end of this game. They're jawing at each other. There seems to be a competitive, fiery spirit. And so I guess my question, Tyrese, for this, is this a good thing for the NBA, or is this something that they should kind of nip in the butt before it gets too serious?
What did you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
So I was saying that, is this something that the NBA should be cracking down on, or do you think that this is just a friendly competition and these guys are just, very friendly in that manner?
I think it's just a competition. Like, I don't know if they're like cool and stuff off the court, but I think there's a lot of competition there. But I don't think it's nothing serious, like, where they're gonna start fighting each other. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think the league has nothing to worry about. Like, it's friendly comp.
Yeah, I feel the same.
I don't make nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel the same way. I don't think it's anything serious. I know that there's like some old heads that might not like this. Actually, old heads would love this. I think new age people would not like this, just due to the fact that everybody's buddy buddy. But I think that this is good for the NBA. I think this is good to have kind of like those rivalry, because I think a lot of people love those like old school, like Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson, comparisons where those two would just would jaw at each other, or like play the game that they're playing, and just like absolutely terrorize each other in that aspect. And I think that's what this could be. Kevin Durant a little bit older than Joel Embiid, not by much, but this is a little bit older. Kevin Durant kind of like getting up there in age, being the old head now comparatively to where he was a couple years back. And, kind of jawing off to Joel Embiid, one of the younger promising players in the NBA. And I like this because I think it shows the fiery competitiveness of a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who played absolutely phenomenal in this game. And we're seeing his growth and development in a beautiful way, and I think that this also kind of forgets and puts in the back of everybody's mind, for the 76ers at least, that Ben Simmons is still not there playing for them. So I think that this is a good thing for the NBA. I think that the NBA needs more of this type of, I wouldn't say like this interaction. Maybe this interaction is maybe what I'm saying, but they definitely need a lot more of this, because I think that it makes the league more interesting. It makes the league more fun when everybody's not so buddy. Like, I do like the idea of like little factions here and there, just playing against each other, jawing off at each other, doing their thing, because I think it does add to the drama. It adds to the allure of professional sports and just sports in general, right? When you have that team or that person on the other team that you like really don't like, but you want to shut them up with your play. Like, I think this is the way to do it. And again, like, I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine too. I mean, it's kind of been like, everybody's kind of had to be restrictive because of, all the rules and stuff from COVID, obviously. But I make nothing of it. I actually like it. It's kind of entertaining. We haven't really seen nothing like that probably since Katie and Russ were going at it, right? Like,
yeah.
So I think it's good for the league and good for the fans. So I like it.
Yeah,
I other players start doing it.
Yeah, man. I think that other players should start doing it. I think we should start seeing a little bit more. I think you might see a little bit more with the Warriors, with another team. I'm not sure what team that'll be, but I'm sure there's going to be another young up-and-coming team that might go for the Warriors and do the same thing.
I think it will be if Chris Paul stays for the next 2 years, I think it'll be with the Suns.
And basically Chris Paul. Chris Paul and the Warriors. They seem to always have a beef ever since he was a Clipper.
Yeah. So I think Clay coming back on the few days from now. So, I think it's gonna heat up again. They're gonna be the team everyone wants to be, and then it's gonna be trash talk. Draymond's gonna go back to his old self, trash talking, because they got their guy back, and look where they're at in the standing. So it's gonna be some trash talking, but I like it.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of trash talking, and I think it's for the better. Not, again, I don't want the trash talking where it gets personal, and then stuff from outside of the NBA just gets into it. But I do like the idea of just like that initial beef where I don't like your team, you don't like my team. Let's just battle it out and just kind of do our thing, because I think that's what NBA fans and fandoms and That's what we like. We like that type of that engagement and all this other stuff. But let us know in the comment section down below, people, what you guys think of this Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant verbal sparring, as ESPN would like to call it. Are you guys with it? Are you guys against it? Let us know in the comment section down below. I think the last thing that we can talk about Tyrese is just people create New Year's resolutions. They create lists of things they want to do for the next year. So I thought, what better way to kind of end the stream than to talk about what your New Year's resolution would be for the Boston Celtics. Because I feel like this is the team right now that is just stuck in limbo. They did beat the Phoenix Suns today, so I'll give them credit.
Yeah.
Robert Williams, aka Time Lord, got a triple-double. So he did his thing today, but they were the Phoenix Suns were without DeAndre Ayton due to health and safety COVID protocols. We were without Jason Tatum, obviously. But what do you have to say about the Boston Celtics? What would their New Year's resolution be for the next coming year, for 2022?
Personally, I just think I personally think we just have to unload the boat. That's me personally. As far as probably guys like Marcus, Robert Williams can probably stay just because he's a little younger and he's so talented, even though he's kind of undersized. But guys like Smart, Peyton Pritchard, what's his name? Naismith, Romeo Langford, probably even trade like I don't know, man. Probably even trade a guy like Jaylen Brown.
Ooh,
and
okay.
See if you can get someone who's just, like I don't know who we can go after, but someone like I would even like someone like Embiid, man. Like
Embiid.
I would, because him and Jason have the same trainer in Drew Hanlon, and every time we play them, they always have that friendly comp. That would be great. And then maybe try to get Bill in the summer. But I just think this team with this head coach with no experience, you need a three-headed monster. It's kind of like how Brooklyn is. Like, you can't have a rookie head coach who's never coached before or anything and just have Kyrie and KD. Like, you're not going to go far. Like, you need three guys. And I think that's what the position we're in. So I think we're just going to have to unload some guys and go after. Man, I would love Embiid. I would just love him. But, I would take Karl Anthony Towns too. I would take him as well. But I think we need a big, man. Like, it's time. We need a dominant big. Because you can always get a shooter. Like, there's a lot of shooters in the league now. So who can get you 15 to 20, But I think we need a solid big man that can just get you like 20 plus any night.
Right.
10, 12, 15 rebounds, like just a bully. And I think we need that. And pair that with Tatum, I think that would be great, right? Because I think there's this scenario to where, players haven't really come to our city in Boston. Like, we haven't really attracted anyone. Like, if you really think about it. Like, all the players we got, we had to trade for. So, I mean, we got a black head coach now. I mean, even though he has no experience, which is crazy, but I just think we have to load the boat on some of these players. Like, we're not just gonna go forward, and we can't wait 3 or 4 years because the Jays are gonna be in their late 20s by then.
Yep,
they're gonna be in their prime, asking for a mega max for 2 more contracts by the time they're 32 in 8 years, and no, man, you can't just waste their prime like that. That's a waste.
All right, so you're saying trade some players and get a big. That's their New Year's resolution.
A superstar big.
Superstar big. All right. I like it. I do like it. I think for my New Year's resolution for the Boston Celtics, since we're both fans of the team, I think the biggest thing for me is obviously going to be being able to close games. I think that is the number one thing going into this next year, especially when we're trying to develop something. It seems like we're trying to build an identity as a team. And I think right now we're still in limbo as to what our identity is. Are we the young team with these young players, or are we this contending team with, two quote unquote superstar players. And I do think that we are still missing a lot of pieces to even be called that, what I want to be called. Because, I talked, contender. I think like years past, when we had Kyrie Irving, when we had Gordon Hayward, we were that oven baked process that I talked about years ago. But now we are officially turning into a team that I don't know what our identity is at the current moment. And that is something that I want us to find for 2022 is what's going to be our calling card. Is it going to be defense? Is it going to be offense? Is it going to be ball movement? I would love it for it to be ball movement and defense, because I think that's the best and the biggest way to get guys to buy in that aren't necessarily going to be your top guys, like your Langfords, like your Smarts, your Pritchards. I think those guys are going to really benefit from that. And I think that the biggest thing for me is, number one on the wish list of New Year's resolutions is to find that next point guard for the Boston Celtics, because each and every great team that the Boston Celtics had always had a great point guard. And I think right now the Celtics are still searching for that. They're still soul searching for that point guard and who it's going to be. It's not Dennis Schroeder. I think Dennis Schroeder is too much of a scoring guard to be that. We had opportunities in the offseason to get that. We didn't get it. And we had opportunities, to do a lot of things for our team. So I think, to me, that's the biggest kind of resolution that I would want, is that point guard, that dominant team leading point guard that's able to help our team get us to where we need to go, because I think that that's the biggest issue. And then on the next on the list I would have is a big that's able to kind of be a guy that you can just throw it down low and let him go to work and just let him do his thing and, kind of play off, and instead of trying to, these sidestep shots and these hero shots that Tatum and Brown throw up that obviously are not hitting at the rate that we need them to in order to be a contending team, the identity that I want us to have. But we'll see, man. Like, I think that this is going to be a very tumultuous 2022 for the Boston Celtics. I think that there's going to be a lot of frustration. There's going to be a lot of hair pulling, and I think there's going to be a lot of, I would say, headaches to go along with this team for the next coming year. Because, like you said, today we played beautiful, but tomorrow could be a different day.
Yeah, that's true. Another, yeah, like I agree. Like we need size too, man. I mean, when you got 6'3", 6'4" guards out there, Grant Williams 6'6", like, and you're going against Philly or even Brooklyn, for that example, because they got a little bit of size with Claxton and KD. I mean, we can't have, Jason Tatum playing center. Like that's not going to fly. Some guy who I would like to go for, who's not as expensive and we won't have to unload the boat too much, is Richaun Holmes. Even though it seems like he can't really stay healthy throughout his career. I mean, he's been playing really well. He's a great rebounder, and he won't cost us so much money. That's another guy I'm looking at. The Kings will probably most likely unload him, but it's just the price, because they know he's value for them. I mean, he's getting 9 rebounds, 13 points.
Yeah.
A block. I mean, he's solid, man. And so, maybe someone like that. But bottom line for me is we need size. We need size. Yeah. Like, we haven't had size since, since probably when we had that going in 18. Other than that, probably since Garnett. I wouldn't say that. Probably when we had IT, when he first got there, when we had Olynyk, when we had Amir Johnson. He had a little bit of size, 6'9", but it's better than 6'6", 6'7". So I think we just need size and, shooting not so much. I'm not too high on shooting. I think we need size bad.
Yeah.
And rebounding.
Yeah, I think size and, just someone that is a dominant point guard in the way that I think Lonzo is. Again, I know I keep harping on Lonzo, Justin, I'll keep talking about him for a while, man. I just think having a point guard like that, or just someone in that ballpark, would be a tremendous thing. So, again, the Boston Celtics, they are, I would say, I think they're either 1 or 2 games below 500.
They are.
They're 2 games. They're 2 games below 500 at 17 and 19. You know, currently the 9th seed in the East, so obviously not where we want to be. But we will see what happens in the year 2022. You know, this is going to be a year where, you know, teams may fall, teams may rise. But I think one thing's for certain is that we definitely need to step it up in that category as a Boston Celtics fan and just Boston Celtics players in general. You know, to get us over the hump. Again, I predicted them to be in the playing game. That's kind of where I'm at with this team. I think that there's a lot of good things. There's obviously a lot of headaches with this team, but one thing is for certain is that this team will never leave you. Will leave you on the edge of your seat until the final quarter. That's all I can say about them because, again, you know, Boston Celtics fans, man, or Boston Celtics, they're they like to do that to you.
Yeah, I mean, something's telling me though, like Brad's just gonna YOLO it and say, screw it, we're only 6 games out of first. Like we have a shot of maybe taking and getting 4th seed or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're probably gonna go after Ben Simmons. My gut's telling me we're gonna do that just because it's been so much ramble and just so much uncertainty with the point guard.
Yeah.
You know, he's marketable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Something's telling me I would be shocked if we trade Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons, man. I would not be shocked. I don't want that, but my gut's telling me we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun and interesting situation for the Boston Celtics, what moves they'll make. If you are a Boston Celtics fan out there in the comment section or in the chat or whenever you're watching this video, let us know what you think the biggest need is for the Boston Celtics this coming year, and what the need is for next year, because I would love to know what you guys think of what our outlook will be for next year, as Boston Celtics fans wait for the new year to kind of roll in and see what we can do to get us above the hump and get us to that above 500, which I think Ime Udoka is trying to do with this team, but we'll find out later.
One last thing.
Yep.
What do you think of the Kyrie situation going on with him, you know, coming back as a part-time player? How do you think that's going to shape for the Nets? Do you think they're the team to beat now that he's going to possibly be a part-time player? Or you think it's going to be a distraction? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think they see it as they need him. I think due to the fact that they obviously got hit with a lot of COVID related health and safety protocols. I think that they're going to be a team where I think that he does help them. But the problem that I'm seeing that is like when you go to the playoffs and you know you have a home game and you know it's game 7 and you are the number 2 seed, so you're obviously going to be one of the top teams, and you need him for game 7. He's not going to be there. So I think that this was the Brooklyn Nets kind of caving to the fact that these other teams like the Chicago Bulls are now, you know, and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat are teams that are like viable to challenge them for the championship. And then you also look at the other conference and the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns and even the Utah Jazz. Like, you're looking at those teams as well. Those teams are gelling on all cylinders. And if you can't have Kyrie Irving, like, and if Kyrie Irving's not available at least for half those games, I think the Brooklyn Nets are screwed. Because I think, like, as much as I like Harden and Kevin Durant playing with each other, I think that they still need an extra guy. And so
I think. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think too, possibly if it's not us trading for Ben, I think that's the team that could probably unload Kyrie, just because they're probably thinking the same thing you were thinking right now, right? Like, what if we're in the trenches and we're in a game 7 on the road in a state where it requires it, or we're at home, right? Like, we're screwed. We don't have that third piece, and we're going against the Bulls, for an example.
Yeah,
they're screwed. They can't beat the Bulls with just James and KD and the rest of those other guys. The Bulls are too deep.
Yeah.
You know, that's just one scenario. The only thing I could think of is they're trying to probably showcase him before the trade deadline is up. The other teams, like, hey, you interested, and probably just unload him because they don't want this to be an issue. Like, KD and James are trying to get a ring, man. Like, they're just saying the right things now, but there's probably whispers going on like, yeah, just trade me to another team that'll allow it in their state. Because if he was so committed about winning a championship and winning, he would have just got the vaccine, man. Like, he would have just got it. It's not because of religious purposes. It's just an excuse, man. Honestly, I think, personally.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, man. Like, this is going to be one of those things that, like, for Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to have to figure it out. And they're going to have to
I just think KD is in his career with his ACL, how things are going right now when they're first tied. I don't think he wants to gamble with just him and James and Blake Griffin and Claxton. Like, they need a third. And I don't think he's willing to roll it because he's the guy who's calling the shots, really. It's KD. And I think, he if it's deep in the playoffs against the Bucks or something like that, man, he'll rather take Ben Simmons 50-50 and he's vaccinated. So I just think they're going to unload Kyrie. Something's telling me they're going to unload him. Unless he gets that back. But it looks like he's not getting no time soon. So I don't think KD wants a part-time player going into the playoffs against the Bucks, the Bulls, the Heat when they're healthy. You know what I mean. Philly. Yeah. Or whatever Philly. They're still a good team. They can knock any team out. So
yeah, I mean,
Joel.
Yeah, I think they need them for the games where teams are above 500. Like, you can look at their record; they're 6-8, and they're 17-2. Yeah. For below 500. So we shall see, everybody. But with that being said, I want to thank you, Tyrese, for coming on the show, man. I know that this was, maybe this is the way that you wanted to spend your New Year's Eve, but I do appreciate you stopping by and. Talking some NBA news and rumors before the new year ends and we go into the year 2022, where there's a lot of uncertainty right now. A lot of uncertainty, due to the COVID and other things like that. But one thing that I want to say is that I am thankful for guys like you, Tyrese, that are continuously helping. Talk with the NBA basketball with me and, are still messing with us heavily, as one of our loyal subscribers to the channel and, have now gone into this full-time talking role whenever I'm on. So I do appreciate you, man. It's been a blast. Yeah, it's been a blast this past year. I know my boy Pete couldn't be on tonight. He was working and doing his thing. And man, it is so much fun. It is so exciting to talk NBA news and rumors. And I can't wait to kind of start the new year off right next year with better graphics and going to that magic 1,000 subscriber number. So Tyrese, I want to say thank you again, man, for helping me kind of continue this growth for this YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, no problem, man. I love doing it. I love doing the same thing you love doing, talking about it. So. I mean, next year, hopefully we can get to that 1K threshold and really grow this thing. So, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun this year. There's going to be a lot to talk about in this, new year.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about, man.
Playoffs and, things with COVID and trade deadline. And, yeah, so we're going to be, buckle up. It's going to be some news. So I'm excited for the new year.
Yep, there's going to be a lot of news and rumors to talk about as we continue to monitor all the situations going on in the NBA. And like I said, thank you to my boy Pete as well, who couldn't be on here tonight, but I know that he's obviously a regular here, longtime friend since middle school. And man, it's been a long journey with me and him. And, I do appreciate his loyalty to kind of help and grow this channel. When we started this stuff, we didn't think that we would even be at this point. And we thought that it was just going to be one of those things that we would not even look at. But anyway, guys, I do appreciate each and every one of you that is subscribed to the channel, all 760 something of you. I think it's 7064 now. I do appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in and subscribing and listening into the channel when you can. And like I said, we're trying to get to that magic threshold to get us through that ceiling, break the ceiling glass, and really propel this thing to become a community, which is what I want this to be. So from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of everybody that has been involved in this channel, I want to wish you guys a happy New Year's. If you are on the East Coast, you're already in the year 2022.
Yeah, they're already on the Yeah.
We're still waiting another 3 hours here on the West Coast, I should say. And I want to thank everybody that's tuned in, that's subscribed, that's watched, that's commented. I want to thank each and every one of you for making this channel and everything special. And again, guys, there is a donation link. There's also a merchandise store as well if you are interested in donating to the channel. Again, it is not necessary. It's not mandatory, but it is there for you if you do mess with the channel heavy. But with that being said, thank you, everybody, once again for joining us on The Charge. Give me the latest NBA news and rumors, basketball opinions, coaching, dissecting plays, and coaching tips. Like, again, I do want to start doing a little bit more of that for the channel. Maybe not so more of a live stream, but more so as just separate videos. But nevertheless, thank you once again for joining us here. This has been your boy Bernie. Thank you also, Tyrese, for coming on the show. And we'll catch each
No problem.
and every one of you back on The Charge in the year 2022. Have a happy and safe New Year's Eve. Make sure you are driving safe and responsibly. Whatever activities you're doing, just be safe, be responsible, and we'll catch each and every one of you in the next year talking more NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Anyway, guys, peace out, everybody.